100%. Let's shift over to Alabama, just 90 miles from Starkville. Of course, a lot of, there's always going to be media coverage, always going to be, Alabama's going to be front and center. Nick Saban comes out and makes some candid remarks about, his players and what they, the way they acted after the national championship game. And he's been pretty candid about getting out of college football, and those reasons are far and wide. But with Kalen DeBoer and the exodus in the transfer portal, now I would assume that they're going to work the transfer portal after spring practice in that short window. But how do we even quantify what this team could or could not be this coming year?
It's tough to not. It's tough to say it without knowing what they're going to do post spring, like you said. But I'll tell you the way I look at it. I have never seen DeBoer, tracking him all the way back to his NAIA days. He has never been in a position where he didn't maximize his quarterback's potential. Always does it. So it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to see improved play from Jalen Milroe. They've got a good quarterback room. Look, there's a kid named Dylan Lonergan over there that may end up transferring. That's just a name to keep an eye on because they loved what he looked like last year as a true freshman, even though you never saw him play in any games. So I think you can tell I've been paying attention to coaching moves a lot because they initially had Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff as the OC and the offensive line coach, respectively, when DeBoer first got there. I graded that as a top 3 staff nationally. Like, they killed it in hiring under DeBoer when he first got there. But when those two left, it knocked them down. Probably I'd grade him in the 10 to 15 range nationally right now. It's still a lower tier 1 staff in the SEC. But the biggest takeaway is DeBoer's an offensive guy, yet it's the defensive support staff grade that upgraded for Alabama. They did not have a very high-level defensive staff last year. And Nick Saban being the head coach hit a lot of that. I think Kevin Steele was the defensive coordinator. There was some stuff that kind of went on in the summer to where I don't think he was able to be as hands-on as he wanted to be. So defensively, they were mixing and matching all year, and it got overshadowed because the quarterback instability was the main event there at Alabama. But it's a minor miracle that team was in the playoff last year. So I think people expect drop-off, and that's fair when the best coach of all time walks out the door. I think they'll be a contender as early as this year. I don't think there is a ton of drop-off. And I think that also in due time, you'll find Kalen DeBoer adjusts to recruiting in the SEC probably a lot more seamlessly than some folks expect him to.
Let's get you on your way with this question. I appreciate your time as always. Way too early. If you're buying stock in a team or two, we'll see. The 12-team playoff's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see, who makes that thing. Are you buying stock? I wouldn't hold you to this as like a pick, but give me a couple teams. I mean, is it Texas? Are you looking at Georgia? Are you looking at Ohio State? Are you looking at Florida State? Maybe Oregon? It feels like a fairly wide open field with about 7 or 8 teams. I don't know that there's this one dominant team. You may disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But if you're buying stock today, just, early stock you're going to put in your pocket, who are you buying?
Love Ohio State, actually, because there is a growing narrative out there that's wrong, that they can't win the big one. Ryan, they can't do this and can't do that. And that's always a misused term. There is a very big difference in cannot versus have not. Once upon a time, Kirby was labeled as the cannot guy. He cannot get over the hump, cannot beat Saban. Well, that was always wrong. He just hadn't done it because it was hard to do. And then all of a sudden, he did it. And now he's won 2 titles, and everyone thinks he's the best in America, which he probably is. But the point is there were fractions of inches between being labeled cannot versus already's done it. Well, Ryan Day's right there. And I'll tell you another one that's off the radar is Missouri, because Eli Drinkwitz lost some really, really good coaches. He lost Kevin Peoples, the defensive line coach, for example, went to LSU. I am huge on Kevin Peoples, not to mention his defensive coordinator leaving. And he goes down and he gets Brian Early out of Houston, which I got rated as a 4.5-star defensive line coach. And he actually upgraded, I think, his defensive coaching staff overall. And it's the 3rd biggest staff improvement grade I've got in the SEC. So, like, Missouri will be thought of as a one-hit wonder from last year. And they still got Luther Burden at wideout. They still got Brady Cook at quarterback. Defensively, they're not going to drop off. 12-team playoff. I think Missouri has a half-decent shot of making it this year.
Make sure to find him on X, Late Kick Josh. Get the show, The Late Kick with Josh Pate. And, of course, you can find his channel on YouTube. Of course, check it out in the bio as well. Josh, always appreciate your time. Stellar work, my friend. Look, have a great weekend. We'll do it again soon.
I appreciate it, brother.